Hello friends, welcome. I am happy to introduce the Jyotish portal. I spoke about it in my last video. We have been working on this portal, the Jyotish portal, off and on for quite some time. Now we thought that it is in a shape that it could be released to the public, mostly for the KP community. This is still a work in progress. But this is a fully functional in the sense that you can use this to draw a KP horoscope, both natal horoscope and a horary horoscope. Let me take you through the various options. And you are already, if you have been using one of those softwares, then you already know there is nothing different, way too different, especially when it comes to the calculation and all that. So it might look like yet another KP software, and in many ways it is. Like you populate this form, and then it's going to generate all the necessary tables, the signification table for the planet and the cusp according to the Krishnamurti Paddhati. But we are going to be different, and as we keep adding some more options, then slowly you will see that just the calculation part itself is not on our plate. Our focus is something different, and the focus is on helping the KP community in enhancing the predictive skills. This is an online portal, and as I do not see a future for the desktop applications, thus you don't have to download anything ever, and no backup, nothing. All you need is an internet access. The faster internet access you have, the better it is. The main focus of this portal is going to be on the predictive skills, and we are developing some more options for that. And because KP's birth chart interpretation has its own challenges, and it is, a lot of people tend to over simplify the KP concept, but the KP birth chart has its own challenges, and so a community is needed to address those issues and have some engaging discussion. That is the one of the main purpose for this portal. Now let me quickly show, let me quickly give you an idea about the various settings and the output. It's more like formality because you might be aware, but still. So we have an option for the birth chart and the horary. So currently it is 12249, and so you can calculate a birth chart or a horary chart. And then you have to populate this form. We have paid some attention in the way the dates, whether it is a birth data or the dates in the Mahadasha, are displayed, and we have taken care of that there is no confusion. You see a lot of these KP softwares where the month is not spelled out properly, so you are not sure what kind of date format they are using. Take this example. Now this date and these two dates, these are different. So, and now since because of the internet, the interaction between the user and the astrologers have become very common on an international level. So you don't know what kind of date format is being followed. So that's one thing that we have taken care of in this thing, that the month is clearly spelled out, and so there is no confusion. And some of these settings are like there is a cusp rotation. I think this will be mostly used for the horary. Then there is an Anansh. So KP, Ladi, Brahman, and no Anansh means a Western or a tropical horoscope with 0 degree Anansh. That will be calculated. And then the nodes, you have the mean and the true nodes. And by default it is a mean node. The Rahu Ketu value is calculated for the mean node. And there are people who think that the true value should be taken. In my next video, when I do a video on the Amitabh Bachchan chart, then I will show you how this particular setting changes things. Whether you are taking a mean node or a true node is not, you can't possibly afford to ignore this. You have to look into it, that with a practical example, that how the setting for with Rahu Ketu for the mean versus the true changes the signification. This you will see when I do reading on the Amitabh Bachchan chart in my next video. Similarly, there is another option about nodes signify its Rashi Lord only. So I actually let me generate this chart and show you what exactly it means with this kind of a setting. So now you have this chart generated, and before we go to this particular thing, the node signifies Rashi Lord only. Some of the other stuff is, I guess, clear to you. South means going to do this layout in the south format, and when you change the Enanche, then some of the planetary degree might change. So those kind of things are there. Now the default option, the node signify it's a Rashi Lord only. So this is the default option. So what it does is that the nodes are set to represent the planet by conjunction, a planet by aspect, and the planet by its sign lord. And a detailed video on this, I've already done that. And this is something, a bone of contention. It still causes a lot of confusion. Now here, if you look at when Rahu and Ketu signification is only taken by its Rashi Lord, not by any aspect or not by any conjunction. Let me change this to north. For me, it's north is more readable. Just a matter of practice. So here you see the Ketu is representing this particular set of signification, and Rahu is representing this particular set of signification. You can have these, you can see these details. It says that the mean nodes are taken, and that's a default setting. Then the node signify Rashi Lord. That's true. That's what the current value for the node is. But if you look at what Rahu and Ketu actually represents, then it says Rahu by conjunction represents Sun, Mercury, Jupiter. Rahu by aspect represents Moon, Saturn. Rahu by sign represents Jupiter. So if we change this value and we say that we are going to take these nodes by conjunction, aspect, and sign, and now if you look at this, now you see what has happened. The Rahu and all these has started representing so many different houses, and what is, I would call, what is a proliferation of signification. And I did a video on what kind of confusion this creates. In my own experience, experience I have noticed that Rahu Ketu by sign only is more than sufficient. And so that's the default value. So that is something that I wanted to point about. And then display outer planet is the Rahu Ketu, sorry, the Fortuna and the Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, these Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, those kind of things, right? So now let's take a look at the selection of the birthplace or the city. So now when you click on this, so now you have an option for the India, US, and other. I think there are more than 1 million cities in our city database, and so you can search for any particular city, and most of the time you're going to find that city there. Let's take one US city just to show you the DST, the daylight saving thing out. Let me take New York. Wow. Now if you look at New York, there's so many New York, right? Even in US, there's so many New York. So this is just like you have multiple Rampur in India. So you have, so let me take the New York, this put, let's see what happens. So now when you select this and generate the chart, and when you look at some of the details, right, here it is saying DST is true. So daylight saving time is true for this date. And daylight saving time, you already know when the clock is advanced 1 hour. This is an artificial advancement of 1 hour. And so the actual standard time might be different, but the DST time is different. So the idea of showing this was that the automatic DST correction is in place. So you need not worry about it. And look at in Delhi, if I type Delhi, because Delhi is a big city, just like Mumbai or any other metropolitan city. So if you are born at one side of the Delhi versus on another side, the coordinates are going to change. The cusp will be the cusp might change, and with that, the sublot of the cusp and some fine calculation might change. So in Delhi, if we just look at the Delhi area, so we have the police headquarters, Azadpur, Delhi cantonment has 2 values, cloth mill, golf course. So all these various landmark part of Delhi, those have been identified. So if you can find your place of birth by using this. And so this is still a little bit of I would say not very user friendly. And I spoke to Ratnesh, who is looking after the whole technical stuff, and so he said that he's going to simplify this. So he will revise this interface so that you can quickly search for a city that you are looking for. So that was about this form. And now let's look at the output. So now if you look at these output over here, and I would like to draw your attention to a few things, because this particular output that you see over here is a very thoughtful output. This is not some random things have been put over here. And see, what happens is that when you are interpreting or reading a KP horoscope, then a few data has to be handy, and you can't possibly be scrolling back and forth, up and down, for this data. So that way you lose your attention, you lose your focus. And but if you look at this, the what I typically called as the work area view. This is the work area view. So in the work area, you have all the charts that you need, and then you need the planet signification is there, and even the planet degree, and with sub-sublot. Some of you might be using sub-sublot, so that's also there. And REC is nothing but the retrograde and combust and that kind of flag. So you can find that from this table. Similarly, for the cusp, you have the cusp significator. We are still trying to refine this particular table, the cusp significator. And the cusp Q info, you can just say a quick info. So, and you also have the cusp degree, right, over here. So I have seen a lot of time that when a KP horoscope is generated, there is not much regard is given to where the cusp is right on the juncture of the two different cusps, and it is assumed that whatever is generated is see, what happens is that if suppose it is a Virgo 0 degree, or a 1 degree, then you have to sit up and take notice. This horoscope could be wrong. If the recorded birth time is off by a few minutes, then that person could become a Leo, right? And this actually recently happened with one of my friends. And when she contacted me, and I was doing her chart, and then I realized that her ascendant was right on the threshold of Scorpio and Sagittarius. She herself is a kind of, she knows some astrology, and so when I told her that, and she has been thinking that she is a Sagittarius, her ascendant is Sagittarius, but when I pointed it out to her that she is a Scorpio, she was very shocked, and she says for last 35-40 years, as she is very fond of consulting these various astrologers. She said last 35-40 years, every single astrologer, they just made a calculation and they said, no, you are a Sagittarius. See, most of the astrologers, they don't give a damn. They don't care, right? And she said that last 40 years, she had been under the impression and also had that doubt that she is not a Sagittarius. And when she started interacting with me, and at that time I knew that she had to be a Scorpio, and I would say a very heavy kind of a Scorpio, because she is interested in all these new age kind of stuff, Kundalini, pranic healing, Reiki, those kind of a thing. Now, Sagittarius people might or might not take much interest, but Scorpio by default will take interest. And if the Scorpion tendencies are strong, then this is bound to happen. And she felt a little embarrassed that for 40 years that nobody pointed out that she was a Scorpio, and then many things in her life started falling in place. So why I'm telling you this story is that when you have this kind of a work view, then you can also, without scrolling the screen, you can also look whether the ascendant is right on the cusp. Does it need any rectification? A few minutes might change the ascendant, and if the ascendant changes, all the signification, all these cusp signification, planet signification will change. So without scrolling up and down or changing screens back and forth, you are not losing sight of anything. And here also, if you look at the planetary positions, right? So then you can immediately see if any planet is right on the border. So that way you can get some kind of an alert signal that you have to ensure that planet is in which particular sign. So this particular layout, which I call the work view layout. It helps you. And on a standard laptop, I guess you don't have to scroll, and everything is visible, including the show, all the chart, and some few people they make use of the cuspal sublot, so it's there. Some people make use of the sub-sublot, so it's also there. It all depends, and even the fourth step is also there. Because I have some respect for the fourth step, and I will explain why we have to sit up and take notice of the fourth step signification. And so this view is also good for if suppose you have a set of students and you are trying to have a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet virtual meeting, and then where you have to teach them some Krishnamurti Paddhati principles, then this view is very handy. I guess this is a very handy view, and I would like to thank my team in putting this together. We are going to make this Mahadasha more searchable, and so all these options, my friend and colleague who are technically savvy, they are going to add. So they are going to refine all these things. And now let's take a look at the detailed view also. So when you click on the detailed view, then detailed view is just, it gives you all the detail, everything, including the full name of the planets. Here you have to scroll a little bit, and then you have everything. And another thing I wanted to show you here was, when I was mentioning that our focus is going to be on the predictive side, our focus is not going to be on the calculation engine. You see here in the planet table, you see the sub, right? But if you look here, then you see star of sub. These are two different things. The sub you might understand what it is, but you might have not paid any attention to what is star of sub. Here, if you look at Ketu, right, the Ketu sub is Mercury. So this star of sub is a different thing, and the whole fourth step is actually derived from this, and there is a reason why this star of sub has a very significant role to play in Krishnamurti Paddhati. So when this is all ready, then I will do a video and I will share my thoughts that why the star of sub has to be taken into the consideration. Like I mentioned, the KP birth horoscope has this predictive challenges, and we have to explore some new frontiers. That's the idea of this portal. And then you have this the whole dasha layout is there, and dasha, antar, and pratyantar. I thought that I'm going to just name this as dasha, antar, and pratyantar rather than calling it dasha, bhukti, and antar. And there's a lot of confusion because of this the terminology that's used by the South Indian astrologers versus North Indian. I'm not trying to say that one is good and one is bad, but it definitely creates some kind of a confusion, because the DBA or the antar in the south is not the antar that's in the north. So I thought that I'll just stick with the North Indian convention. So we'll call it the Shantar, Pratyantar. And so with the lot of these the nakshatra name and also, so we're just trying to make sure that we follow what is there in the north side. Like I mentioned, that it doesn't mean that the things in the south are incorrect or wrong. It's just a matter of having some more clarity, nothing more. So that's all is there in the output part, and you know, in Krishnamurti Paddhati not much is there, especially in the calculation part. But we are going to, you know, refine this based on your suggestions. And some of the things that I know for sure are the let me write what Ratnesh told me that we are going to have this the login thing, and so that will help you to save the chart. It is not there right now, and but he's working on this, and then you can save the chart in the database, or you can save the chart on your local computer as well, and then you can print as PDF. Now nobody, I think, uses the paper, and most of the time we send the horoscope in a PDF format, and then he's going to make some changes in the setting like DST. So few people, they right now the DST cannot be changed. It's a fixed setting, automatic kind of a setting, but we are going to make it an option. And same with the city, latitude and longitude. Few people might um, complain that their city or town is not listed. And so at that time, we are just trying to figure it out how to handle all these things. These are not some big challenges. I guess every software, astrology software has this issue. And then we are going to add a ephemery for the transit thing. So all these things, we are going to do. And now you know how to reach to this site, jyotishportal.com. So I have to make this request that start using this, and if you find any error or a bug, then you have to click on this envelope icon, and so you can send us a mail about the bug or the option. Additionally, you can request or recommend additional option. See, we are not going to be doing a lot of things from the traditional Parashari astrology. We already have a calculation engine, we can do it, but we had an internal discussion. We thought that there's a lot of software they do all these divisional charts and the Ashtottari Dasha, or it's an ocean out there. PVR, the J Hora software has already done a very good uh, thing with the old traditional astrology. So there is no point in reinventing the wheel. But some of the stuff that we think might be relevant from the old astrology, from the traditional astrology, that we can discuss about within the Krishnamurti framework, that we are going to definitely entertain. So feel free to send us your suggestions. And then third is the general inquiry or question, that if you have any specific question, then you can use the contact us page. We are also trying to have a KP online classes. Right now the format is not clear to us, so you can also suggest something that's on your mind about the syllabus of the online classes. And so that's one thing that's on our plate, and we are going to initially we thought that we should be doing it in English and the Hindi language separately, but I think there's going to be a lot of work. So we decided that we will do in the Hindi plus English, the English. So so I have a fairly good command over Hindi language also, but I have to brush it up. So this will also help me brush my Hindi language, and something that I love about this language, the Hindi language. And the like I mentioned, the chart calculation and engine is not our major concern. So all your inputs, ideas, suggestions should be more focused on what kind of a problem as a KP astrologer or as a KP enthusiast you face in making a or reading a horoscope. That's going to be the central theme of this portal. When you send a mail from our contact us page, it's going to come to me and also to our team, and we'll reply to that as soon as possible. Otherwise, you can also send an email to this particular uh, Gmail address. So that's all in this video. Start using this portal, the jyotishportal.com, and I would love to hear from you as much as possible. Feel free to send your suggestions to us. Thanks for watching.